What's something you learned embarrassingly late in life?
Story 1.
I'm from Mississippi, and until I was 18, I thought that everyone else in the country counted with their own state, i.e., instead of one Mississippi, two Mississippi, they would count one Nevada, two Nevada, or one Maryland, two Maryland, etc.
Story 2.
My dad was fond of framing questions to my brother and or me regarding just what on earth we were doing. Up to age 10 or so, when it no longer seemed necessary, using the term pray tell, as in, what are you going to do with the tools, pray tell? I presumed a prattle was a gentle equivalent to goofball or dummy. One day I corrected my brother about some misconception he had, addressing him as you prattle. What did you call him? Asked Dad, who happened to be nearby. A prattle. You call us that all the time. I do? Yeah, you say, what is that supposed to be, prattle? I've never seen him laugh through a facepalm before. Knowledge is power, friends is bacon.
Story 3.
When I was a teenager, I posted a status online that said I was jacking off. I thought that meant you were just bored and wasting time, until my older sister messaged me horrified. When I was a teenager, I thought the expression to eat someone out meant the same thing as to chew someone out. Unfortunately, I was educated on this after I told someone in a church that I wasn't expected to be eaten out that morning at breakfast. I was 17, Lamau.
Story 4.
That a prostitute doesn't actually sell a piece of their body. Backstory. My mom and I were watching the scene from Titanic where Jack tells Rose that he painted a one-legged prostitute. I asked my mom what a prostitute was, and she told me it's someone who sells their body for money. I could not fathom why someone would sell their leg for like $30. LOL, that was just a perfect confluence of unrelated information to confuse you. It was a completely logical connection to make.
Story 5.
I was like 22, working at a restaurant making myself a salad, and I asked the chefs for bumps. And he stared at me for like 60 solid seconds trying to figure out what I wanted. I explained to him I wanted bumps for my salad. I have all the rest of the toppings, but now needed bumps. Guys, my family told me croutons were called bumps my entire life. I called my dad that night and confirmed that bumps are indeed actually called croutons. Edit. People keep asking, why did my family call them bumps? Well, someone in my family had a speech problem as a kid, couldn't say croutons, and they became bumps. We had other funny names for stuff, but I knew what the real words were. I just never got around to learning croutons, I guess. He thought you were asking for Coke, dude.
Story 6.
I lived near the hospital for joint diseases. When I was a kid, I thought it was a special hospital for people who had two different diseases at the same time. Person with multiple diseases here. I will raise this at the next meeting with the hope of adopting it.
Story 7.
This is something my little sister did through high school. We were about 8 years apart, so we never overlapped in school. She's always been a straight A student, and I found out she worked extra hard because she wanted to catch up to me in school, so we could be in school at the same time. I almost cried. Edit. Thanks for all the awards. Never had any of those before. You've made a girl with the flu feel a little better today. And for those of you who asked, yes, my sister not only caught up, but surpassed me. She's a beautiful young woman who graduated with high honors in psychology and is going on to complete a master's degree.
Story 8.
I thought Mick Jagger's name was Mick Jagger, and people just never said his first name for some reason.
Story 9.
I learned that pork and beans are not called cowboy beans. I was 18 and asked a grocery store clerk to help me find the cowboy beans. We were looking everywhere, and I was getting frustrated because I know that every store carries these beans. After a while, I pick up a pork and beans can with a picture and say, "See, it looks just like this." He says, "You mean pork and beans?" Then I realized that my mom called them that so I would eat them. The look of disappointment from that grocery store clerk haunts me to this day.
Story 10.
My sister was in her 50s when she found out the meaning of, you have an addictive personality. She thought after all these years of therapy that it meant people were addicted to her personality. We laugh hysterically when we talk about this, in a very sad way.
Story 11.
That you don't have to stand in the shower while the water warms up. A previous thread like this, years ago, someone said that they didn't know you were supposed to move the towel to dry off. Since on TV, they just wrap it around them and walk around. They didn't like taking showers because it took almost an hour to dry after.
Story 12.
I thought that horses had toes until I was 22. I thought that the hoof was a horseshoe and the toes were tucked inside. How did I learn how wrong I was, you ask? I was walking past a cavalry museum and saw a horse statue and loudly remarked, "It must hurt so bad when they fold a horse's toes to put them into the shoe." Dozens of horse enthusiasts turned and looked at me with wild bewilderment in their eyes.
Story 13.
You don't have to rip the plastic top off of your new deodorant with your teeth or pliers or anything. You can just turn the base until it comes up enough to just take it off. Oh my God. I should return this master degree to the university.
Story 14.
When I was in college, 21 to 22 years old, I was getting ready to go out and it hit me like a lightning bolt. If you just thread the small end of the belt through your belt loops all the way around, literally any belt can fit your pants. Because up until then, I thought sometimes I just had belt loops that were too small for certain belt buckles. I ran out to my friends and was like, "Guys, check this out," as I proceeded to demonstrate for them what I had just learned. I genuinely thought they'd be excited for me. It was then that I learned that everyone else on earth knew the right way to wear a belt, except for my dumb ass. Unbelievable how many times up until then I spent trying to jam the buckle inside at first and coming to the conclusion that I just needed bigger belt loops. Edit. Unfortunately, this is a true story and I have no good excuse for why this dumb thing took me so long to figure out, except to say I'm a woman, and guess I didn't wear pants with belts that often. Believe it or not, I graduated from college and lead a pretty successful and fulfilling life. We all do stupid stuff, and I'm glad this story of my stupid thing made so many of you laugh.
Story 15.
I thought that Primadonna was pre-Madonna, and that it meant everything before the singer Madonna, and just assumed she was some kind of universal queen. I also thought it was Primadonna, but I thought it meant that the person was just starting to behave like Madonna, like they're pre-Madonna now and will eventually go full Madonna.
Story 16.
I was probably 21 or 22 when I learned that whole milk is only 3% fat. I always thought it was 100%. And when I saw reduced as being 2%, I thought, why wouldn't they do 50% or somewhere in the middle? Would 100% fat not just be literal fat?
Story 17.
Until I was in school for environmental studies, I thought morning dove was morning dove. I usually heard them calling in the morning, so morning made more sense to me.
Story 18.
Things aren't supposed to start getting blurry at about 15 to 20 feet. Learned I needed glasses at like 26 from one of these threads. Yes, people, you are supposed to be able to see individual leaves on trees. Hope someone else can be helped like I was. I'll never forget the first time I looked up into the night sky after I got glasses and realized that you can, in fact, see the moon clearly. I assumed people who depicted it in art were taking creative license because they knew it should look like that for some reason, and that the human eye was incapable of seeing the moon without also seeing two other blurrier moons sort of overlapping it. It blew my mind.
Story 19.
Coco and Coco are two different plants. Not one magical organism, lol. If one plant gave us both cocaine and chocolate, that would be a compelling reason to believe there is a God and that he wants us to fucking party.
Story 20.
That bonsai are not a species of tree, but a way to grow them. Any tree can be a bonsai.
Story 21.
That a coma was a coma. Until I was probably 19, I thought it was a coma. I thought you fell into a coma. For the longest time, I thought astigmatism was a stigmatism, so I think we cancel each other out.